My YouTube feed is currently filled with videos about Inzoi, and as the life sim genre's biggest skeptic, it's sort of a surprise to myself that I'm saying this, but Inzoi looks like it's shaping up to be pretty solid. I mean, at least it's better than The Sims 4 at launch. But I'm also confused, because there have been a slew of negative reviews of Inzoi by game publications. Polygon's review says the game lacks substance, and GameSpot gave it a 6 out of 10, describing the game in just 2 words. Pretty vacant. Oh yeah, and we can't forget Games Radar, who literally ate Inzoi up and spat her out.
Inzoi currently feels like a soulless imitation of the worst parts of The Sims.
So is Inzoi a walk-in dumpster, or is there more to the story? Before we get into all that mess, a quick word from our sponsor, Instant Gaming. You can actually go ahead and wishlist Inzoi on Instant Gaming right now, and you'll be notified as soon as it's available. I definitely plan to buy it there because I know it'll have some kind of discount, and if you also want to save a few bucks, you can too. When you purchase through Instant Gaming, they'll give you a code at checkout, and you simply redeem this code on Steam, et voila! The game will be in your Steam library and you'll be playing in no time. So head over to Instant Gaming using the link in the description and wishlist Inzoi today. Before we dive into things, I want to address a few positive improvements with Inzoi. In my last video, I discussed the rather sanitized aspects of the game. It's kind of like the Kids Bop version of Woohoo. And all of that information was obviously based on what we had seen in previous playtests. But now that the early access is out, I'm very happy to see that there have been some improvements. For example, your characters can now woohoo even if they're not married. And I'm also ecstatic to share that even though it took 2 years to implement, girlies and gazies, we won. Same-sex marriage is finally in Inzoi. In other news, the Inzoi team is finally talking about the M word. Not that M word, obviously. They kicked me out. I mean monetization. Breaking news, Inzoi's early access release price has been announced, and drumroll, it is $40.
Okay.
To be honest, I was sort of befuddled to see people online praising Krafton for this price, saying $40 is so generous and Inzoi's doing everything right, and one person said they were so surprised because they were prepared to spend $100.
You better be joking.
The trauma Sims players have gotten from EA, it's messed everyone up. During a special live stream just a couple days ago, the Inzoi team also made the groundbreaking announcement that all updates and DLC released during early access will be free.
All updates and DLCs will be provided for free.
But to paraphrase a Rock Paper Shotgun article about Inzoi, it is early access, so updates should be free. Look, I am naturally skeptical when we're dealing with multi-billion-dollar game companies, and to me it appears that the Inzoi team is presenting this idea of free updates as if it's some kind of gift to players, but in actuality, these updates are just them finishing the game. So why would anyone expect to pay for updates or DLC for an incomplete game? I mean, unless you're a Sims 4 player. Who am I kidding? During this live stream, the Inzoi team was reticent to discuss exact plans for monetization, and although they didn't reveal how much players should expect to pay for Inzoi once the game leaves early access, they did foreshadow what's to come in terms of DLC, which will likely be in the form of new worlds for players to live in, and maybe some build items and create Inzoi assets, etc. They did talk about Inzoi collaborating with brands in the future, but what threw me off is that the lead producer was kinda acting like they were too busy to work with any brands for the game.
A lot of different brands approached us for collaborations actually. We were too busy with preparing for early access.
But this statement sort of confused me, because there are already 3 huge brands featured in Inzoi. There are Samsung Electronics in the game, there are also Hyundai vehicles, and there are even LG TVs in the game. But I guess he just means there's more to come. In my last video, I told you guys that the Crafting Creator Network has been established.
My Crafton Creator Network code, a code LLP.
Percentage of each sale.
And that I hate it. If I've learned anything from the EA Creator Network, it's that they're not exactly the most reliable people. I'm just not a fan of what a Creator Network stands for. And as someone who's made a bunch of videos criticizing Sims influencers, most of whom are in the EA Creator Network, I'm sort of disappointed to see that Crafton is now doing this with Inzoi. I want to give my thoughts on the rest of the live stream in the recent early access videos because there's some interesting stuff, but I also want to say something else really fast. There were quite a few people in the comments of my last video who wanted to presumably teach me about Korean culture when I criticized Inzoi for being too kid-friendly and overly sanitized in a lot of ways. Thank you so much for the teachable moments, but I literally live in Korea.
You are really dumb.
Korean people are diverse in their views and perspectives. They don't share a singular mindset. So to say Inzoi is like this because Korean people are like this is simply untrue, and quite frankly, it's offensive. Secondly, Krafton owns PUBG, a violent battle royale game with a mature ESRB rating. That's the same rating as GTA. A Korean studio made Stellar Blade, where the female characters, tatas, have their own dedicated physics. So my point is, the Inzoi team could very well make this game more mature. They're simply choosing not to, and it has nothing to do with Korean culture. I did watch a few of the early access gameplay videos of Inzoi, mostly Sachon Sims and Simfora, I believe. First off, there were a lot of positives. I love the animations. They did such a good job with the details. Like, something as simple as a Zoi taking a nap on the sofa just looked so natural. All of like the little details in the game look amazing. The food looks incredible. They added some new cars. I mentioned that collab with Hyundai earlier. Is that how you say it in America? I actually forgot. Anyway, the cars look amazing. There's a ton of social interactions, more job choices. I'm not that interested in building or creating characters, which is potentially a really big part of this game, but they seem to have done more work on both of those features, which is awesome as well. However, the elephant in the room is that there's a lot of lukewarm reviews for Inzoi's early access. And to be honest, I was not expecting this because these days when it comes to game journalism, there's a lot of discussion about whether these publications are just getting paid off by the game publishers when it comes to reviewing their games. So to see so many negative reviews about Inzoi is a little bit disturbing. Polygon's review says the game lacks substance. IGN said it's impressive yet empty. PC Gamer called it a shallow imitation of The Sims. And GameSpot gave it a 6 out of 10, describing the game in just 2 words. Pretty vacant. The latter praised the game's visuals and optimization, but said the day-to-day gameplay left a lot to be desired and that the overall tone felt sterile. It's funny because that's the exact word I used last year to describe the gameplay. The game feels really sterile. My biggest concern is that Inzoi's brightest spots are its character creator and the eye-catching visuals, but that the gameplay is simply lacking. Although I'm sure there's a whole crop of people who will buy Inzoi just to spend hours making cute characters and taking aesthetic photos. That alone doesn't make a life simulation game. In the comments of the IGN review, someone criticized the reviewer for being too harsh on a game that's just in early access. But as IGN noted in their reply, this is not a free early access product. This is a game people are paying real money for, and they deserve to know what they're getting. Also, I find it so ironic when people respond to criticism of any game by saying it's only in early access. What these people don't understand is that by attempting to stifle or dismiss feedback with that lame-ass reasoning, they're only hurting the game. Imagine if all the Inzoi team heard were the fanboys raving about the game's positive aspects. It would never get better. Right now, Inzoi is not the game of the year or a 10 out of 10 perfect game. With the right improvements, it can certainly strive to achieve that, but not without feedback from people like these reviewers, the level-headed players, and unbiased content creators like yours truly. Without the right kind of feedback, Inzoi may just remain, as Games Radar said, a soulless imitation of the worst parts of The Sims. Damn, you guys thought I was mean.